Nurse Lucy Letby found guilty of murdering 7 babies on neonatal unit. Now, this is a story that I covered. I didn't really want to because it's just a tragic, horrific, absolutely despicable story. But, at least it's got to say justice. No, it's not. The 33-year-old has been convicted of murdering babies while working at the Countess of Chester hospital between June 2015 and June 2016. And there she is there in the interviews and stuff like that, and it's just... There's also the video of her being arrested, and I do enjoy like her face as she's getting led out because she knows she's absolutely fucked, but yeah, she deserves it. A nurse has been found guilty of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 6 other infants while working on a hospital's neonatal unit between June 2015 and June 2016. Lucy Letby, who was in her mid-20s and working at the Countess of Chester Hospital at the time of the murders, is now the UK's most prolific child killer of modern times. She was found guilty by a series of partial verdicts delivered several days apart, with the judge issuing reporting restrictions until the end of the trial, which is now, well, technically it's not over yet. She's been found guilty, but she's not yet been sentenced. So she's still to receive her sentence, and I swear to God, it better be a big, massive, fat, dirty sentence, I swear. Among the guilty verdicts, Letby was convicted of 7 counts of attempted murder, including 2 involving the same infant, because one of them she didn't get the first time, so she went in and tried again. Letby cried during some of the verdicts, while families of her victims sobbed and comforted each other as the jury read out its findings. One member of the jury also cried and held her head in her hands. She was also, that's how bad this was. She was also found not guilty of 2 charges of attempted murder. The jury was unable to reach verdicts on 6 further counts of attempted murder. Obviously, there must have just not been enough evidence provided by the police. Letby's mother, Susan, broke down sobbing as her daughter was led away from the dock after the first set of verdicts, whispering, "You can't be serious, this can't be right," into her husband's arms. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh no, fuck her, why is she still supporting her daughter?" It's a case of when it's your own child, like, the mother shouldn't be supporting her, but I understand why she does. It's I can't believe I'm about to say this. When you have kids, you'll understand. Right. She's wrong, but still. Neither Letby nor her parents were in court as the trial came to a close today. During a later set of verdicts, Letby refused to come up from the cells and was found guilty of more murders in her absence. The government has now ordered an independent inquiry into the killings because it turns out that one nurse reported her suspicions to the higher-ups, and the higher-ups ignored it, and it seems it was ignored several times, which means if they just followed up on this woman's complaint, then a bunch of the murders could have been prevented. And so now there's going to be an inquiry into the senior staff at the hospital. Basically, why was this allowed to continue? Why wasn't this spotted? Why did you not do an investigation when this was directly flagged to you by another nurse? Yeah, so heads are definitely going to roll. All of the children have been granted anonymity, although their names were read out in the courtroom during the 9-month trial. 2 of her victims, known as Child L and M, were twin brothers. There was another one which was a group of triplets, and she managed to get 2 of the triplets but couldn't get the third, and apparently as the third triplet was leaving the hospital, Lucy was apparently visibly distraught that she didn't get that one. Honestly, she's just an evil, cartoonishly evil person. She's not a person. They had been born prematurely and were just days old when Letby tried to kill them within hours of each other in April 2016. Speaking publicly for the very first time, the boys' parents described the killer nurse as acting very cool and calm after trying to murder child M with an injection of excessive air. At that time, her body language and her behaviour totally changed, the twins' mother said. She was very annoyed with us. She thought that I couldn't kill your baby. Yeah, because whenever babies actually managed to survive what she was trying to do, Letby was actually like pissed off. She was like visibly annoyed by it. It was honestly horrendous. I had to listen to her lie and lie and lie. The boy's father says he broke down as he watched doctors trying to resuscitate child M on the ward, pumping his heart like a rag doll. We were first-time parents. We didn't know what was going on, he said. Neither parent suspected Lucy Letby at the time. Both Child M and Child L, who Letby tried to poison with insulin, survived the assaults. But Child M has been left with brain damage, which his parents say means he may deviate from his peers as he grows older. The boy's parents, who joined other families in the court, said it was horrendous to witness Letby repeatedly deny hurting their children during weeks of cross-examination. I had to listen to her lie and lie and lie, their mother says, and I say, now enough, don't tell lies. Whatever sentence she gets, it's not going to be enough. I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. Devious and cold-blooded. Described as devious and cold-blooded, Letby completely perverted her learning and weaponised whatever was at her disposal, the Crown Prosecution Service said. The jury heard the nurse would misuse medical equipment and medicines to cause babies to unexpectedly collapse across the day and night shifts in the hospital's neonatal ward. Her victims included both boys and girls, many of whom were born prematurely. Basically, like... If it's the neonatal unit, that's where basically the babies are usually like in I forget what they're called. Those little like boxes and stuff like that where they're all tubed up and everything. It's it's a very sad place, and I seen a little bit of that when my wife was giving birth both times. Not so much the first time because that was mid-COVID, but you know what I mean. But basically, and one thing as well is we gave birth to our second while all of this was going on. Morag did not leave our side. I'm not, big props to all the women at Wishy General. You were lovely. But I was still like, me and Sue were still watching the baby like a hawk the entire time. It was just nothing to do with them. It was just obviously a paranoid thing. But whenever the baby's finally, Morag was a month premature. Thanks for that, Morag. She was just dying to get here. But even at that, like, amazingly, perfectly fine, no other care required. They were like, yeah, she's golden, she can just sleep next to your bed and all that. So yeah, that was good, that was lucky. But still, it's absolutely horrendous what these families went through. Two of her last victims were boys, known as Children O and P, who were two of three triplet siblings. Both died within the first week of their lives, and Child O was found with severe liver damage, obviously because of whatever Letby was injecting them with. Pascal Jones of the CPS said Letby betrayed the trust that people had in the NHS, as well as the faith that families had. Yeah, there's definitely, see when there's a massive spike like this, like I was going to say, it should be reported. Well, it was reported and they just didn't do anything about it. That's why, like, she was arrested years and years ago, but it still took years for her to actually be arrested. Behind that angelic smile is a much darker side to her personality, she added. Letby stood trial accused of murdering 7 babies and trying to murder 10 others at the Countess of Chester hospital. The nurse from Hereford denied all the charges, but the court heard that colleagues had suspicions about Letby well over a year before hospital bosses contacted the police. A nursing assistant who worked at the hospital told Sky News that when alarms would go off during the night, there would be a phrase that people would use. Lindsay Artell said that colleagues would ask, I wonder if Lucy's working tonight. Like, so they knew. Like, there was a pattern. Like, our baby's dying, well, line up the shifts. Who's always on shift? And it was always Lucy. Miss Artell also fears that Letby attacked her son Asa, who was cared for on the hospital's neonatal ward after being born 2 months premature. She is calling the police to reinvestigate her claims and that of other parents. Following today's verdicts, Cheshire Police confirmed they are now investigating whether Letby could have attacked other children in her care prior to June 2015. This includes several more years she worked at the Countess of Chester Hospital, as well as time Letby spent on training placements at Liverpool Women's Hospital. Dr Nigel Scorney, medical director of the Countess of Chester, said, "We are extremely sorry that these crimes were committed at our hospital, and our thoughts continue to be with all the families and loved ones of the babies who came to harm or died. We cannot begin to understand what they have been through. Since Letby worked at our hospital, we have made significant changes to our service, and I want to provide reassurance to every patient that may access our services that they can have confidence in the care they will receive." This is a person who not only is about to lose their job, by the way, they're about to be investigated. Apparently, because it is that bad, the government are going absolutely fucking tonto. They are they are sending in like the men, not just men in suits. They're sending in the men in suits to look to go with a fine tooth comb through every senior member of staff at the hospital because. Why did this continue for so long? How come it was kind of known amongst the nurses, oh, is Lucy working tonight and everything? And even when it was directly reported, why wasn't it looked into? And some people are trying to say it was because it was a brown nurse that told on a white nurse, shut the fuck up. Right? But still, yeah, heads absolutely need to roll. DCI Nicola Evans, the Deputy Senior Investigating Officer on the case, told Sky News that it remains really hard to even accept that in that setting, somebody would be harming babies. It is totally unnatural for anybody to think that, she added. No motive ever established. I don't know. I can believe that. Purely because why would you do that? I'll save that for the end though. Cheshire Police conducted a 2-year investigation into the baby's deaths before Letby was charged in November 2020, so it took 4 years for her to even be charged. Officers say they examined more than 500,000 medical and digital records and have been supporting the victims' families, many of whom have attended court proceedings in person. DCI Evans said, I don't think there's anybody who has worked on this investigation who will come out of the other side the same person they were. It has been heartbreaking. During the trial, Letby claimed that she was being wrongly accused to cover hospital failings. No motive has ever been established, which DCI Evans said must be really hard for families to accept. I don't know whether we will be able to answer that question, and only Lucy Letby can answer that, the officer added, and she never will. Letby's murder trial is believed to be one of the longest in British legal history. It began on October the 10th, 2022, 315 days or more than 10 months ago. I don't get that. In total, it sat for some 167 days. However, the trial over the murder of Lynette White sat for longer, a total of 197 days in 1990. Okay, so there are certain crimes that I can comprehend. Now, it doesn't mean I agree with the crimes. There are certain crimes that you can wrap your head around. And I think this is why people have a fascination with serial killers. Like, a guy, he's a heroin addict. He smashed a car window in and he stole a car radio, right? I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. That's an old crime, right? But still, I'm an old man now, right? But the guy broke into a car, stole a radio, pawned it off, bought heroin. Right now, even though you've never done heroin or been an addict like that ever in your life, you still have some form of understanding. You're like, yeah, okay, I can see why he did that. Like, yeah, there's a bit of comprehension there, right? And then, for example, a guy comes home and finds a man, like, fucking his wife, you know, his wife's been cheating on him. The guy proceeds to beat the absolute piss out the man and throws him out a second-story window. Now, you don't agree with the beating up, absolutely. The second-story window, attempted murder charge, best not. Right, but even though you don't agree with the crime, you can go, yeah, I could understand in that situation I would be extraordinarily angry and I might do a few silly things, right? Yeah, there's an understanding of that crime. So there's certain crimes where even though you don't agree with the crimes, you understand why they were committed. I don't get this. I genuinely can't comprehend what there is to gain from doing this to babies. Was it maybe like a power and ego thing? Was it maybe just inflict? Because I would say, like, there is no more evil act than literally murdering a baby. There isn't. That's like I would admit maybe there's some other crime that I'm not able to think of in the moment, but to me there is no more evil an act than murdering a baby, especially like a little premature. It's literally the most defenseless thing on the planet, right? That little tiny baby, right? And she was murdering him. I don't understand the why. I can't comprehend the why. I can't wrap my head around that. But I know I've said many times I am not a Christian. However, this woman is a literal demon. I'm not calling her a demon. I'm calling her it. Right? That is a literal demon. But now we get to the fun part. She's going to prison. Women's prison as a baby murderer. Now, some of you might have been locked up before. Some of you might know the prison system and stuff like that. People like sex offenders or people who harm children in Scotland. I know that in America they get called chomos or something like that. Like over here, in Scotland they get called beasts. That's what we call them. So if you've like raped women, hurt or molested children, blah blah blah, you're a beast, right? And beasts in Scottish prisons have a very hard time, a very, 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 very hard time. I mean, as we just saw with Ian Watkins the other week, right? However, baby killers in women's prison. I mean, that's the type of stuff that would make guys in male prisons go, God damn, can you tone it down a little bit? There's a thing, right? There's a story. I don't know what this is called, and I've heard, you know, where you can't tell if something's just like an old wives' tale that they scared to scare you about prisons. But I've heard this far too many times where I'm thinking this must be a thing that happens, right? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but allegedly, women prisoners will take women prisoners like Lucy Letby. They will put a light bulb somewhere. They'll put a light bulb inside somewhere on the person and then kick the person until it breaks. And, you know, no further detail required. You know, I'll let your imagination do the rest. Now, obviously, oh God, she's a high risk. She's going to get put into you know, the special custody or whatever the hell. It's protective custody. Yeah, well, so was Ian Watkins. Right, and Lucy Letby is going to be in prison for a very, very, very long time. Right? So, they will get her eventually. Like, I'm trying my best. It's very hard not to Fed post with something like this. They'll get her eventually. Right, however, I would say, as I've said many times on the channel before, if you do, don't kill her. Don't kill her. That's bad. Don't kill her. Leave her alive. Why? Well, we've discussed that before, haven't we? Right, but still, you know, we can make our jokes and everything like that. We can wish all the worst things in the world. Right? By the way, one thing I'll point out as well, my wife, right, some of you might have used to watch her YouTube channel. She's retired for YouTube completely. She might come back one day, but she's 100% focused on being a mother. She took to it like a duck to water. She literally doesn't do anything else except like take care of the kids, right? I was actually, even though I knew my wife was a very like kind, caring person, we are chalk and cheese. By the way, we're complete polar opposites of each other. She was. It's weird. I know it sounds weird to say this. She was born to be a mother, right? She's very, very good at it. But she's nice and sweet and loving and caring, and she's so friendly and nice to everyone. Until you mention Lucy Letby, and my wife says some shit. Like, I think. One phrase that was used was nail gunned to an electric chair. And ever hearing my wife talk like this, I was, Suzanne, my God. I mean, it's sexy, but I've never heard my wife talk like this. That's how bad this person is, right? Lucy Letby is an absolutely deplorable, disgusting, despicable human being. Not a human being, demon. A literal fucking demon. And I feel just absolutely rotten for what all the families have went through. I honestly, genuinely can't imagine a worse thing to go through than some absolute piece of shit like this taking your child from you. It's just absolutely horrendous, and I hope whenever she gets sent into the women's prison, they give her a very, very warm welcome.